Well, he is back in Florida preparing for the State of the State address, but he has, of course, been all over our home state of Iowa with the caucuses looming nigh. He is Florida Governor Ron DeSantis. Governor, it's good to have you back with us here on the show, brother. How are you?
Good. You got a big game tonight with the Wolverines, man. Best of luck there.
That we do. We have a big one tonight, no doubt about it. You've got a big one here next Monday night. Where do you think things are here on the ground based on what you have seen transpire in these last few weeks?
Well, I think I think we have the momentum. I think we're doing very well. We've got tens of thousands of people that are already committed to caucus for us. We have the precincts organized where I think almost 1,600 precinct captains that are going to be there. All the things you need to do to be able to maximize your vote on the Iowa caucus. I also think it's the fact that you've seen people like Nikki Haley, she's in New Hampshire saying that Iowa's votes need to be corrected by other states. She's stepping in it. And then the former president, Donald Trump, he's out there on the campaign trail. And if you put the side by side between him in 2016 riffing and really at the top of his game versus now in 2024, I mean, it's just a different guy that you're seeing there. Obviously, he's taking positions like building a new FBI headquarters in D.C. that's going to cost $1 billion plus. He's waffled on gender ideology and even attacked pro-life legislation. So I think it's a different candidate than the one he was in 2016. So as we come down the stretch, Iowans are going to be able to make a decision. Donald Trump's running for his issues. Nikki Haley's running for her donors' issues. I'm the one really running for your issues and your family's issues, and just the sole focus on being a very disciplined, focused president to turn this country around. Of all the candidates running, it's just a fact that I'm most in tune with the values of the Iowa Republicans that are going to go and vote on the Iowa caucus. And so I think that that's a good position to be in.
You made the 99 county tour. You did the full Grassley. Over the course of that time in our state, was there one common theme, one common question, one common objective, or objection, I should say, that you received more than any other as you've engaged Iowans throughout, the last 7 or 8 months now?
Well, I definitely think the border, no matter where in Iowa I was, people are very concerned. I mean, our country has over 8 million people that are coming into this country, massive numbers. We don't know who they are. They're coming from all across the world. It's causing huge problems, of course, but then the prospect of terrorist attacks and other types of criminal activity is looming large in voters' minds. I saw that increase after the Israel attack. Israel got attacked on October 7th because I think people are just intuitively like, oh, wait, Israel's got the best border security in the world, and yet they got viciously attacked. Are we led to believe that an open border of the United States, that our enemies are not taking advantage of this? Of course they are. And so I think it's counter to the media thinking the only people that care about the border are people in border towns. I went on a ride along in Wayne County, Iowa, and you see how the cartels and the illegal immigration has affected a rural county in Iowa. So every community's become a border community, and I think Iowans want somebody that's finally going to bring this issue to an end. Donald Trump obviously promised to build the wall and to have record deportations, and that didn't happen. We don't have an opportunity. We're not going to get a mulligan on this one. I mean, we're either going to restore this country's sovereignty now, or it may never happen.
I'm glad you brought up the border. One of the watchmen on the wall on this issue is a mutual friend of ours, Congressman Chip Roy. Last week, another congressman, and you're a former member of Congress, so you know this chamber well. Last week, there was a congressional delegation led by current Speaker Mike Johnson. They went down to the border to see the invasion for themselves. In fact, they actually watched the people crossing the border as they were there. This happened in real time. The speaker has now come back from that event, Governor, and decided to just go ahead and give us the full Kevin McCarthy. We're going to codify the McCarthy debt bomb into law. We're going to just fund everything of this government Leviathan that is allowing this invasion that you heard about from Iowans, and I hear about from people all over the country for the better part of this last year. We can't afford a government shutdown. We can't fight on anything. And when you were in Congress, people that do what I do for a living, we coined a phrase called failure theater. all right, which was essentially creating a dynamic where it looked like the Republicans are very upset about something so they can give a voice to it, and then they're going to turn right around and sell us out on it a little bit later on. And now there's this new element, which is, and I call it, and I knew that Johnson was going to sell us out when he went on CNBC to tell us that he was endorsing Donald Trump for president, because like no one cares about his presidential endorsement. So that was a clear sign, I'm about to sell you out. So let me paint the elephant's blood on the door, write it in Trump, and the angel of accountability will pass over my door. And I cannot be held accountable for my lame and gutless leadership any longer because I'm backing Trump, and that's all that matters to you is that I give voice to Donald Trump on your behalf. So now he's going to fund everything. He's going to do the full McCarthy. I don't know what your Floridian, fellow Floridian Matt Gaetz accomplished with his gambit of the changing the speaker out. You're one of the founding members of the Freedom Caucus. You would have to corral this and herd these cats as president. What's your perspective on all of this? Because I have to tell you, I'm really, really angry about it, and I'm not alone.
Well, yeah, well, a couple of things. I mean, one, we've seen this Trump dynamic play out where, somebody like a Kim Reynolds, who's one of the most successful conservative governors in the modern history of our party in Iowa, she gets trashed by Trump and other folks just because she wouldn't endorse him and eventually endorse me. Meanwhile, you could be the most lily-livered liberal Republican, never stand up for a single conservative thing. But if you kiss the ring of Trump, then somehow you're viewed as like a member in good standing. So it's become totally detached from the underlying principles and issues that we're supposed to be championing. And the way I view it is elected officials, you're only as good as the results you're producing. And if people are not standing for the things that we need to, the idea that they should just get a pass because they endorse a politician, is absurd. Ultimately, a movement's going to run aground if that's the truth. Then on this budget, look, this is just selling out everything that they ran on in 2022. They said that they were going to change the way Washington operates. They said that they were going to hold these agencies accountable. That's the thing. The House of Representatives is supposed to, because they're armed with the power of the purse, be the people's redress for when government misbehaves, when government violates people's rights, when government doesn't do its core functions like it's failing to do at the border. If you're willing to just simply fund the whole thing into perpetuity, then you're never going to get any of those practices change. And so he says, oh, well, we're really concerned about a quote, government shutdown. Well, what's going on now with the status quo is shutting down our country. Mm-hmm. It's shutting down the American dream. It's shutting down our sovereignty. Why would you want to just green light the current order of things, given how bad all this is? But, this has been standard practice, I think, for Republicans for a long time. What you really just need is leadership. I mean, I think Trump, when he was president, he had an opportunity to change some of this. It just wasn't anything he wanted to fight on. I mean, he signed a massive spending bill, I think his first or second year in office, and he pledged he would never do it again. And yet he did it, I think, a half a dozen times again, culminating in CARES Act 1 and 2, which added another $4 trillion to the debt just in his last year in office. But I think if you have a president that lays down the marker, that's going to galvanize Republican voters and a lot of independent voters around the country. And then that puts pressure on these guys to actually do what they say they're going to do. And I think one of the problems is they're allowed to campaign as conservatives, then they get up and they just do business as usual, but they don't really get called on it the way we need to. Using that bully pulpit will make a difference, and we'll be able to lay a marker down and say we're just not going to allow this to happen. And you know what? That's happened with me in my life. I've worked well with the Florida legislature, but we had an issue on congressional redistricting. I said, look, I'm going to veto this. This is not going to work for me. They went ahead and passed it. I vetoed it. They had to go back in special session and fix it. So you just got to be willing to use your leverage and use your constitutional authority.
Final thing I want to ask you about along those lines. Your record of accomplishment is really not in dispute. That's why there's almost no discussion about it amongst people in my line of work that either Trump is bought off or they would like Trump to buy them off. And so we have to talk about your boots or, something else that has nothing to do with anything anybody cares about, because the resume speaks for itself. Your inner calculus of when to fight, because I think part of the issue people have is I think a lot of our people, Governor, have kind of given up. The show is the best we can do. Like, we couldn't actually win. We can't actually fight. So can I at least be entertained here on the last days of Pompeii? Can we have more games and sport? And can we own more libs here in the decline and fall of the Roman Empire? As opposed to, can we actually fight and win? When is it time? If it's not, hey, we just took in more people over the border in December, twice as many more people over the border than we deported all of last year, and that was 1 month. If that's not the time, and they're all unvetted, we don't know where they're going, if that's not the time to fight, when is the time to fight? When does the red line for our side ever get drawn?
Well, it's kind of like Lucy with the football. I mean, we're always being told that they're going to take care of things, and then it comes and Lucy just moves that football away time and time again. Look, we showed in Florida that when people are convinced that you got their back and that you will fight for them, and we did this during COVID, we did this by fighting Disney to protect our kids from gender ideology. We've done it time and time again. When people see that and they trust you, they come out in droves to support you. And I think what our folks do up in D.C., they're too concerned about what the Beltway media says about them. They're too concerned with whatever a poll would say in short term, which, by the way, the media would manufacture that against Republicans anyways to try to drive a narrative. And they're not as fixated on thinking further down the road about, look, we have a government that is out of control. We have a government that is not consistent with the founding fathers' understanding of the Constitution. We have a government that, going on its current course, this country is going to fail. So if you're not willing to dig in with the power that you have because you're worried about the political repercussions, then you're just not going to be people. You're not going to be candidates that people are going to want to come out and support. Whereas if you fight for them, they appreciate it. Even if you don't win every fight, if you're there fighting for them and doing what you said you're going to do and identifying these problems, they will come out for you. But Florida is a great example that when you govern in bold colors, when you take strong stands, when you actually fight for people instead of whatever the interest groups are saying, that there's a big constituency for that. And we wouldn't have been able to win the biggest victory in Florida history in a governor's race for a Republican unless that was the case. And so I could just tell you, January 20th, 2025, we're digging in on all these issues, and we're just not going to leave any meat on the bone. We understand we have limited time to be able to get all this done, and we just got to do it. And we've got to fight, and you got to use all the levers at your disposal to be able to do it. But I really believe a president setting the agenda, going directly to the voters, that's going to get these Republicans in line because the voters are going to want to see the direction that we're going.
And that's what you have proven and demonstrated there in Florida. And hopefully you'll get a chance to prove and demonstrate that before the rest of the country as well. Thank you, Governor, for the time. We appreciate it.
Thanks so much.
You bet. Take care.